listening to Inside the Rings, your ultimate podcast destination for everything related to the Olympic movement. Here's your host, my dad, John Hawkins.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Inside the Rings, where we go behind the scenes of the Olympic movement, exploring the people, the passion, and the purpose of the Olympic Games. I'm your host, John Hawkins, and today we've got a story that defies gravity and expectations. Our guest today grew up in the sun of Southern California, where ice was a novelty and Olympic dreams were as far off as the next snowstorm. But Derek Parra didn't just chase a dream. He skated straight through history. From inline skater to Olympic speed skating champion, Derek's journey is a masterpiece in resilience, transformation, and American grit. And in 2002, he didn't just win gold, he inspired a nation. Derek, welcome to Inside the Rings. Great to have you on the show.
Thank you, John. That was a very, very nice intro. I really appreciate it. Thanks.
Yeah, you bet. Yeah. Let's start at the beginning. You didn't grow up lacing up speed skates in Lake Placid or Oslo. You were a rollerblader, right? In San Bernardino.
Yeah, that's kind of where my story begins. And I didn't really start that sport, if you would, until I was 14. So I was a little bit of a late bloomer there as well. I just grew up, parents were divorced. I lived with my dad. My brother and I lived with my dad. My brother was 2 years older than I was. And we just did what normal kids at those years did in the early 70s in a predominantly Mexican-American and African-American neighborhood. We just kind of hung out, played in the streets, played stickball, using manhole covers and trees for bases and a broken broomstick and like a, wadded up sock with duct tape around and anything we could find. My dad was, he was kind of an athlete, he played, not church ball so much, but he had this recreational basketball league and softball league. So he would just tug us around and he would go out and play, and my brother and I would just wander all over the parks and wherever we were, around the buildings, wherever he was playing. And as long as we were back by the time the game was over, he wouldn't even know where we were, if we left the stands or the bleachers or not. So that's what we did as kids. And then at one point, I think I played baseball from when I was 8 to 12 years old. I mean, I had fun playing the game, but I guess I wasn't a fan of my dad loved baseball.
Yeah.
And he never taught me how to catch a ball, field a ball, hit a ball, throw a ball. But he went to every single game. And I didn't know what the definition of anxiety was back then when I was between 8 and 12 years old.
Yeah.
But I do remember being in the batter's box or on deck, and my dad behind the backstop, and him just getting so overwhelmed and loud and obnoxious of just like if I struck out or whatever it was, like, come on. My nickname was Didi, so I was like, come on, Didi, and swing and a miss. Come on, and it made me nervous. My hands were sweating. I just didn't perform very well, and then at times he wasn't there. I did well. I just kind of was with having a kid having fun. My grandfather always went. He's laughed. He chewed on his sunflower seeds, spitting them out in a bag, and just, that's it. That's okay. You'll get him next time. That kind of thing, like all grandfathers do. And so when I was 12 years old and I had a choice to keep going in baseball or not, I didn't. I just didn't have any fun. I rode my BMX bike around the neighborhood for a couple of years. And then one day my brother went to a roller rink with one of his friends.
Okay.
And he came back talking about how cool it was at the roller rink. And we had a bunk bed, shared a room with a bunk bed. It was a 2-bedroom, house. And we shared a room, and he just that night came home and he wouldn't shut up. He just kept talking about a disco ball and the lights and the music and this and that. And being a younger sibling, that's what I wanted. I wanted to be like him. Like,
of course.
Take me, please, take me.
Yeah.
And I begged him. He just wouldn't take me because it wasn't cool back then to take your little brother to a roller rink on Friday night. That's kind of how it all started.
So about the roller rink, did they have inline skates or did they have like regular like roller skates?
Yeah, these are old traditional, 2x2.
Yeah.
Disco skates, you want to call them that, the roller skates. And I went out there, didn't have a pair of skates. I think I skated once before in an elementary school party, but never really been there, and so there were those brown skates with the really rock hard wheels, and you skate around going because they're out of round, right? And a little piece of what looks like a piece of gum for a toe stop, and they were just so bad. But my dad he was very tight with money. Admission and skate rental was $3.75. We got out of the car and he gave us $4. Had a quarter of my name. We couldn't afford an Atari back then, so I had no skill at video games, zero skill.
That's
And sure
probably
enough, as soon as
okay.
huh?
That's probably okay.
Yeah. And, well, not today, not today's world. I'd probably be laughed at with no skill, and I'm not a gamer, but, I was there at the roller rink, and I remember, just, like, kinda looking around and, nothing I didn't really wasn't a great skater, but there was a video game machine there. I put my quarter in, 30 seconds later, all my men were dead. I'm broke, basically. I'm sitting on the side of the wooden floor, watching kids go around, and I was thirsty because I was skating underneath the hot lights.
Yeah.
But luckily, like, just as that happened, the DJ turned all the white lights on, cleared the floor, the skate guards cleared the floor, and they put out 4 cones.
Ah,
And they started
okay.
calling kids out in age groups, 7 and under, 8 and 9, 10 and 11. And what they did is they called them out, and each group skated a race. And my group happened to be a 2-lap race
Okay.
because that's about 14th time. And if you won your 2-lap race of your age group, you got a free ticket for a drink in a snack bar.
Oh, hey, there you go.
And that's why I started. I was thirsty. I was like, okay, I'm thirsty. I'm dying of thirst. I'll go out there and try this. I mean, I thought I was an athletic kid. I'm playing stickball in the streets. But I went out there and, I looked around. All these kids are in this starting position. And before I knew it, the whistle blew and I took off and actually was winning the start on those
Wow.
cheap, pathetic skates. I'm winning the start because I was, again, an athletic kid. And I got to the first turn and the skates that had been worn probably by 10,000 people, 10,000 kids up until that point, they wanted to go to the right. I wanted to go left. I pretty much went straight, went wide the turn. Everybody passed me and I got last.
Oh, wow.
But it didn't matter. John, I was hooked
Yeah.
on racing that
Yeah.
day, that moment. And all I could think of when I came across that line was, okay, I got to come back next Friday.
Yeah.
And that was a spark for me.
Wow. That one small moment just
Yeah. And it
hooked you.
wasn't easy. I mean,
Yeah.
because I came back, like later, weeks and weeks and weeks. And there were times when my dad didn't have enough money to pay for me to go on the weekend.
Sure.
So I started saving my lunch money. He'd put $1 on the table when he'd leave because he was a correctional officer.
Okay.
He'd get up and leave at 6 in the morning. He'd wake my brother and I up and we'd shower and eat breakfast and walk 6 blocks to school with our house key on our neck and our shoestring. And we'd come home before he came home and we'd play stickball, like I mentioned earlier. And
Yeah.
he'd come home and whistle. Street lights came on and we came home. That was kind of my life every day.
Yeah.
It just never changed. Monday through Friday, that's what we were doing. So when he couldn't take me, every time that dollar would come up on the table, I would pick it up. I'd put it in my Friday night fun, and like stash it somewhere in my bedroom.
Yeah.
And I would make a bologna and bread sandwich or something, put it in a napkin or a paper bag, and I'd take it to school, and that was my lunch. And I just wanted to go to the rink and try again and try
Right.
again. And it took a long time until I actually was getting somewhat competitive, but I never could win a race. I saw guys that were always beating me. I'd maybe be in first place for one lap and someone would pass me. And there might have been one time I was in first place to the last corner, but somebody always passed me. And I recognized that the skaters that were going to the snack bar with that free ticket, they all had on speed skates. And that was a
Okay.
lower boot, stiffer boot, bigger, grippier wheels, an adjustable toe stop. And I always joke and say, if you spun the wheels, they actually roll.
Yeah.
So yeah, so like, I need a pair of those. So I got a paper route. I was was mowing lawns, saving lunch money, selling toys or whatever I had until I finally got a pair of speed skates. They were used, but I
Yeah.
bought them. And I was practicing all along because I was going to the roller rink, and it wasn't before too long I was winning the races, and I had a stack of tickets, like raffle tickets, basically,
Yeah.
like that thick. And the kids, I started being a little bit more known in the rink, and then, hey, it's Derek, that's the fast kid, and I was meeting girls like, hey, you want to go to the
Yeah.
snack bar? Drinks are on me, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And but I just got to know people. I was really chatty as a kid because I didn't get much conversation at home. And the rink manager, who happened to be the DJ and also the speed skating coach,
Oh, wow.
calls me over one day and he says, hey, you should speed skate. And sits there on a Friday night and he tells me all about it and how I could travel around the state if I got good, around the country if I got really good, and if I got to be the best, around the world and race for Team USA on roller skates. And that's when I was hooked, and I heard this big door in my head opening of
Yeah.
where I could go. And I joined the club and began my speed skating career.
Yeah. Inline skates.
No, just roller skates. This
Roller
point.
skates. Okay. Okay.
Lines didn't come in to our sport until 92. And this was 84, 85.
Okay.
So I skated for a number of years and went to made national events on roller skates.
Uh-huh.
Wasn't really good. I won my region in California, but when I got to nationals, I just got my trash kicked by kids from New York and Wisconsin, and I know all the Midwest states that are cold where they all skate indoors
Yours,
in the
yeah.
winter.
Mhm.
We went to the beaches and whatever, rode our bikes outside, and we just weren't as discipline in the sport. But
Yeah.
everybody back from the Michigan area, even in Florida, because they had good coaches in Florida, everybody in the back in the Midwest and eastern part of the states were really good. And those were the guys that I always raced that beat me. And I just, 3 years, went to nationals 3 years in a row, and I wasn't any good. But
Interesting.
on my
Yeah.
road there, a coach who I ended up kind of being my Mr. Miyagi, when I moved away from home when I was 17, I went to live with him. He thought I had some talent and invited me, or just said, "Hey, if you ever get serious, give me a call." And that's what started my I guess going into a deeper part of my career. I made a commitment to see if I can get anywhere in the sport.
Yeah.
17.
So when did you transition to inline? In 92?
92. It's when rollerblades came out. I remember, I'm not sure. Yeah, you're old enough, right?
Yeah.
Rollerblades came out. There was a big fitness boom in the U.S. It was like if I remember correctly, it was like the fastest growing sport. It had the least amount of impact, and it had the benefits of cardio benefits of running with
Yeah.
virtual no impact. And so that was the big selling point. There were these 5K and 10K family fun rules all over the country.
Yeah.
Rollerblade, the company, was putting on all these big events, and the wheels got certified to be able to come into our roller rink floors
Oh,
we were racing
interesting.
on,
Okay.
and they were grippy. They changed the formulas to make them grip. And
Yeah.
then once that happened, it took off in our sport. They were at the
Yeah.
world level and everything. And I had already won world titles on roller skates, but once inlines came in, we even got better, and it was more popular. And they were on ESPN, and I
Yeah.
started skating for Team Rollerblade, where I actually got paid to skate. I got a
Wow.
couple $1,000s a month to go out and skate 40 races a year on the weekends all over the country and promote inline speed skating and
Yeah.
the fitness of inline speed skating. And that's kind of how I started financing my journey. And because I graduated early from high school with accelerated courses, and I
Yeah.
just want to see what I can do. And one-way ticket to Florida when I was 17 turned into like a year, another year, and moving from Florida to Maryland with my coach Virgil to
Mhm.
Delaware, and so on until I finally came to the ice when I was 26.
So what brought you to the ice?
The Olympics.
Yeah, okay. So
Yeah, I
you
was in the sport of roller speed skating from, I guess, 84, 85 until 96. And in that time, I had won 18 world titles, set 2 world records, and was the most decorated athlete in the sport.
yeah.
I went to the Pan American Games in 92. 92, was it?
Okay.
No, I'm sorry, 95
95. Okay.
in Argentina. And that was my first taste of an Olympic experience. There was opening ceremonies, walking in with the American flag, big village, everything. And in
Yeah.
that competition, I was the leading medalist of all sports in the Pan Am Games. I
Wow.
had won 5 golds, 2 silvers, and a bronze. And our sport was not Olympics yet, but it was everything but Class A sport.
Yeah.
We were kind of Olympic funded in a way. We had a track at Colorado Springs inside their velodrome. Our racing
Mm.
track was the cycling velodrome's warm-up track for
Yeah,
cycling.
yeah, okay. Yeah.
But that was kind of what we did. Went to world championships, things like that. But we were waiting for the games to be included in Atlanta. Kind of like how
Yeah.
breakdancing got in Paris.
Yeah. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
country voted to have breakdancing as their sport.
Yeah.
We were hoping that Atlanta would include roller sports as their sport because it was so popular back then.
Big, yeah.
So I'm number one in the world. I'm waiting and waiting and waiting. And a friend of mine, Casey Boudier, actually had got tired of waiting. He went over to the ice skating in 94.
Okay.
And it's funny because he was just here over the weekend and we were talking about it. We were trying to figure out like when I started and everything. And I said, I remember driving from California through the country to go to Delaware for a competition. I remember seeing an article about the Pettit National Ice Center. So I stopped by on the way across through the country and I walked in and someone that I had met earlier saw it and said,
Mhm.
"Hey, what are you doing here? Your friend Casey's here." I'm like, "What?" Look over and Casey's skating. And I said, "What are you doing here?" He goes, "I'm going to try to make the Olympics, man."
Yeah.
And I was like, in skating? He's like, "Yeah." And I stayed the night, skated that night on a pair of rental skates or something, stayed the night, drove off the next day and went to go race on inlines. And then sure enough, he makes a team. He calls me from Lillehammer, Norway. He got to skate in Dan Jansen's place because Dan
Oh,
scratched
cool.
his 1500 meter
Yeah, that's
to
right.
save his legs for the 1000 meter, which is a couple days later, which he won.
Yeah.
Casey calls me from Lillehammer going, "Dude, I'm skating in the Olympics." So I was green with envy, but I was still trying to wait for Atlanta. And then after Atlanta basically said no, I called Casey up and said, "Hey, can I come over and try the ice?" And he's like,
Yeah.
"Sure." And so after one of my last worlds, I went over and made the full switch and moved to Milwaukee.
So what was that transition like? Was it a natural transition or was it hard to get used to the ice?
Absolutely just I don't want to say horrible or miserable because it's hard to say that with the hindsight that I have, but that's what I tell kids. Say you grow up and you throw sidearm
Yeah.
or even underhand, right? And then you have to completely switch your technique to throw overhand, or if you're sidearm your whole time, when you get tired, that's where you throw because that's what's natural. For your whole life, you've been throwing on the side. And
Yeah.
all of a sudden you go to coaches and they're telling you to throw over. It's more efficient. It's more, I know, sustainable. You can throw faster and you practice, practice, and practice. But as you get tired, your brain
Right.
goes to the
Yeah.
side.
Yeah.
And that's how skating was me. I had developed so many good habits on inline skates over the years of trying to be the best in the world,
Yeah.
but they were the exact opposite on the ice.
Really?
Where you push is different. It's like a push broom.
Huh?
If you're pushing rocks off your concrete with a push broom or a sweeping broom, it's completely
Interesting.
different technique.
Yeah.
And I would go out there and I'd practice with the skaters and try to get the timing down and everything. And then the second they'd move out of the way, I'd skate my own way, or I'd get in races and I'd have maybe 4 laps of ice skating technique in me. And then I'd go back to inline technique and I'd go
Yeah.
slower and slower and slower. So it was a struggle. I mean, it took me 6 years to go from, I mean, I was number one in the world when I left the sport of roller skating. And when I came to the ice, I was probably, I don't even know I was in the country, but I was getting beat by 14-year-old kids because they knew how to skate. And I was this
Wow.
26-year-old man who was just literally running on the ice.
Yeah.
And it just took me, 6 years to kind of break it all down um, in my mind, in
Yeah.
exercises, and try to find a way to adapt
Yeah.
to find a way to be more efficient. And yeah, it just took it's really hard. And even now when I sit and I coach kids, it's frustrating for them as well because they were at elite level in
Yeah.
one sport and then coming to this sport, and kids that are younger, not as strong, not as developed, maybe not even as talented, are beating you.
Interesting.
It's humble pie for sure.
Because they know the technique from the beginning, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So let's fast forward a little bit. Your first Olympics was Salt Lake City, right?
No, my first was actually the 98 games in Nagano, Japan.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But I didn't get to skate because of a clerical error.
Oh,
That was a heartbreak. Yeah, I was pretty much broke. I mean, literally penniless
uh-huh.
at the Olympic trials of 97 for 98 games in Japan. I didn't have any money to pay rent. I didn't have any money to buy food. It was bad. I mean, I'd eaten out the trash cans at one point in my life to keep moving forward. But here I was in Milwaukee. I made the team, but I didn't have any money. And so like a friend of mine actually wrote, who's my agent now, Pat Quinn, he
Yeah.
actually wrote me a check and said, here, like, just use it now. You'll pay me later kind of a thing. And I somehow find out, I think I mowed a lawn or landscaped a yard and found a way to make rent. But there I was. I made the team. I was super happy. I remember getting a big bag of clothes, put on my first U.S. skin suit. I was super psyched, right? My first Team USA skin suit, and
Yeah.
called my parents and family, and we go to Japan. I get there. I'm there for about 10 days. We're the first team to arrive. When I got there, by the rankings, I was the 32nd person ranked in the 5,000 meter, which I qualified for, and only the top 32 men get to skate that race. So
Okay.
I just made it. So I'm like,
Yeah.
yes, parents are buying tickets. My parents had never seen me skate. They just were
Never.
part
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah.
My dad's first time seeing me race on ice skates was when I won the silver medal here on the
Oh,
first day
wow.
of the 2002 games. My mom and dad went to watch me in Nagano, but I didn't get to skate because the night before the race, referees have to validate all the times and make sure that they're correct. And they recognized that a team from Kazakhstan, their team leader misentered their skater's time, and he was 0.012 seconds faster than me. So that night, literally the night before,
Yeah.
the day before the race, the pairing list comes out, which has who you're racing, what time
Mhm.
you race, and what lane you're in. And I wasn't on that paper. So when I got to the rink, I look over, my coaches and team leaders are fighting with the officials. You see them up, the hands in the air,
Yeah.
and that kind of European or Italian kind of like, pressure. And I went, what's going on? And they go, just go warm up, because that was my race prep day. And
Yeah.
I came back and they said, you're not on the starting list. I said, why? And they told me the story. I couldn't, I mean, it was the facts. I wasn't faster than I was 33rd in the world, not 32nd.
Yeah.
And I had to sit and watch the games, and I was devastated. I remember being 28 years old. I remember going into the village and like creeping in between like two of the Olympic houses, like a Japan house, maybe the Norwegian house or something. And I tucked myself way back in the back where no one could see me. I just cried like a baby for I don't
I'm
know how long.
sure. Yeah.
Like I gave up so much, everything flashed. I left home at 17, was went all over the place, again, eating out of trash cans and missing friends and all
Wow.
the other stuff that goes along with that. And then I was there at the games I
Yeah.
couldn't skate. But it
You,
was a blessing in disguise, John. I mean, if I would have skated the games,
yeah.
would probably got last, maybe second to last. And at that point, that was my only dream. I wanted to walk in behind my country's flag and experience the Olympic Games.
Yeah.
And because I didn't, I mean, I went to the opening ceremonies and saw the
Sure.
bells and whistles, but I didn't feel like a true Olympian because I didn't compete.
Yeah.
So I stuck around 4 more years, and then
There you go.
yeah,
Wow. So I was out of the country. I was on my LDS mission in Korea during 1998,
we-
and I don't know any of that histories. I didn't know that. So, well, let's fast forward then
okay.
to 2002. You got the gold medal in the 1500 meters,
Yes,
right? It wasn't just historic. I mean, it was historic, but it made you the first Mexican American to win Winter Olympic gold.
yeah.
You know, you talked about your, personal and financial struggle. Walk through those moments where you were like, between all of this, where you're like, this might not happen.
In the 4 years leading to the games.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, no, a lot was going on because I had come to the sport, put my trust in a coach who he's a great skater from Holland, but had some success. But my body and my physiology and my training familiarity was not really meshing with his training program. And I
interesting.
felt like I was getting worse and worse. And from 96 to 98, when I made the team, I came into the sport at 126 pounds as an inline skater.
Yeah.
And by the time the 98 games came, I was 150 pounds, but I
Oh,
wasn't any faster because no one was teaching me how to skate.
yeah,
They didn't know how the skates work, the radius in the bottom of the skate, the bend of the blade, any of that stuff. I was skating laps behind people, but there just wasn't, quite frankly, I wasn't one to really watch, right? I was just like the other guy on the team, and there were a couple guys that were going to hopefully win some medals. I was just kind of a teammate. I was following. I was like the motivator and positive guy,
yeah,
that was good work. I had a good work ethic, but it wasn't working for me. So after 98, when the previous coach went back to Holland, we had about 6 months without a coach. I went back to actually my inline skating coach, who was my Mr. Miyagi. He taught me everything.
yeah.
Virtual Dooley completely changed the trajectory of me as an athlete, as a person. He was like my dad. His wife Sue was like my mom. I just lived
Wow.
in the house with him for years. They taught me so much about life and just about adversity and resilience, and just never giving up. And he broke down the sport of roller skating for me, which got me to a high level. And so I called him and I said, like, what do you think? And he goes, I think you should go back to what you were doing on inlines. And we talked for a few hours, and I used to do this jump program, which is basically imitations of the sport, of side extensions, jumps, lateral jumps, vertical jumps, arm swings, everything, recovery in your legs, like you're skating. Basically, if you looked at the image of a speed skater on the ice, we're doing dry land or off ice imitations of that. And
Yeah.
I put a weight vest on. So I got out of the
Okay.
weight room completely because I didn't think that squatting 450 pounds was doing anything for me. So I got out of the weight room. I ran like miles and miles and miles all summer long, lost about 10 pounds
Okay.
of just girth. And I
Yeah.
was jumping around with a 40-pound weight vest on for hours and hours in a park, trying to get my strength back and like that poppiness, that dynamicness back in my push. And then a new coach came in who was also Dutch, who ended up being my Olympic coach, and he wanted me to go back to the weight room, and I was like, no, I can't do it. Like,
Yeah.
if you're telling me to go back to the weight room, I'm going to train on my own. I
Yeah.
was that invested in it. I had 4 more years. I wanted to be in charge of my success or failure. And so luckily, to his credit, he gave me a chance. Like, okay, if I do this for 1 year and I don't get better, I told him I'll do whatever you do, whatever you want me to do. And he agreed to it.
Yeah.
After 1 year of that, I went from 3rd to 20th. And the
Wow.
next year from 20th to 10th. And I just kept
Wow.
moving up every year. And the next year from 10th to 2nd in the world. So, and then my teammates started doing it with me. And so that gained a lot of confidence for me because I was starting to feel like my own. I was figuring out all the technical pieces of the skate. It would be like a NASCAR driver learning how to build an engine. I was learning about
Yeah.
everything that happens while the skate travels, what the body weight distribution and transfer does, that people that no one really told me. And I was a student of the sport. I started to figure that stuff out, and I was figuring out off ice and then trying to transfer on ice. And I was getting these little breakthroughs here and there. And, things got better and better. And, year out from the games, I got a silver medal here at a test event, because every Olympics you have to have a test event a year out from the
Yeah.
games.
Yep. Yep.
Like, it's just a test of timers, the timing system, the ice,
Yeah.
everything. So I was here for a test event, got a silver medal and a world single distance championships, which is basically a mirror image competition over 2 days of the Olympics instead of 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And so things were going great. And then they asked us to move here. And I came here and trained all summer. And yeah, and then I think everybody's life changed, September 11th, 2001.
Yeah.
And that's was a very big focal point in my life. I was in Florida. I was married at the time. My wife was pregnant with my daughter, Mia. I went back to visit her and I arrived on the 10th. And on the 11th,
Mhm.
those towers get struck.
Yeah.
And I was stuck in I was stuck in Florida for 10 days, glued to the TV, like I'm sure everybody was. And I felt
Yeah.
like a patriot in that I was always trying to compete for the US and I always wore the stars and stripes. And so I was very invested in that. And I felt like if I was like kind of going to war every world championship kind of a thing, representing your country. And remember being there. Went to get something at the store and I remember just being stopped at a light and I just started crying.
Mhm.
I felt so, I'm going to cry now. I felt so ashamed to be a speed skater. I felt embarrassed to be a speed skater because for the majority of my life at that point, my whole self-worth was literally going around in circles. And then I'm
Yeah.
seeing these horrible images on the TV of people
Yeah.
getting pulled out and I wanted to do something and I truly believe that skating wasn't it. So I quit. I quit skating.
Really?
Yeah, quit skating somewhere around September, I don't know, 20th or something like that. I quit skating and I came back and I told my coach and he's like, "No, you can't do that. Come on." And he, got us all together on the ice and we had a moment of silence, what would be on the finish line of what would be the ice for the games. And we held hands with our team. And, I remember in that moment of silence, I just started seeing these flashes and I opened my eyes. I was crying. I left the ice and went to work. I just couldn't be on the ice and think about myself. I
Mhm.
just felt like there's something more I had to do and went to work. And I was part of the Home Depot job. I'm not sure if you remember that.
Yeah, I do remember that. I was gonna ask you about it, so
Yeah, it was a great program. He had applied for this job, but it was called the Job Opportunities Program. There were about 208 athletes, I think, at the time, and we
yeah.
worked part time and got full time benefits. So I got health insurance, and I could
Wow.
work my 1,040 hours anytime I wanted. So I'd work from literally like the end of March. I'd work like crazy until first week of November. Then I had off like November to travel for competitions, December, January, February, and
Yeah.
March. So I was getting paid while I was racing and I was working my butt off all summer to earn that.
Yeah.
So that was a single reason I was able to skate and go another 4 years because financially I couldn't do it. But once I got that job, it allowed me to skate. So I went back to work when I came here and I talked to my supervisor saying, you might want to give this job to somebody else because there's a waiting list, right? And I,
Yeah.
I, I don't think I'm going to be there in 4 months. Just, I just couldn't, again, I just couldn't think about anything else but those people. So
Yeah.
a few weeks go by and I'm just not showing up. I'm kind of trying to do things at the, encouragement of my coaches and teammates. And then, all of a sudden, like the USOPC is sending me emails, but hey, meet with this guy. He's a sports psychologist. Meet with that guy,
Uh,
And so we start meeting people. And I met a guy named Doug Chowdy, who was a sports psychologist for the USOC. We started talking, and after a number of conversations, we started talking about, well, you know what? I'm an American. This is my logic why I got back in. I'm an American. It's a home Olympics. I was possibly going to qualify for two events. One event was 2 minutes long on average. One event was about 6 minutes. So that's 8 minutes I would have to hopefully, if I was put on TV as an American
yeah.
at a home games, that would be my 8 minutes to try to take this tragedy off the minds
Yeah.
of all these people, the victims from September 11th. So we sat one day and we kept talking about it and everything. And I said, okay, I'll skate, but it's not gonna be about me. It's gonna be about those victims. And
Yeah.
that was my whole mindset going in for the next 3.5 months is the children, the wives, the husbands, what they were going through. And I wanted to give them something to cheer about.
Yeah.
So if I had a bad race or a bad practice or a bad bike ride or whatever, I just kept thinking about them. Just kept thinking about them. And then so things started to come around. Before we knew it, the games were here and all the buildings downtown were wrapped with images of Olympic athletes.
Yeah.
And I remember being here, warming up, and I got a call from a guy named Greg Harney. I was in the locker room, and Greg worked with the U.S. Olympic Committee, and he's like, "Hey, Derek, no, this is a really bad time." And I thought, like, okay, it's Cat B 98 all over again. Like, I'm not going to get bumped from
Right.
the.
Right.
So I'm like, "What's going on, Greg?" And he goes, "I know you raced on the first day, which is like the day after the opening ceremonies." He said, "But the World Trade Center flag is being brought into the opening ceremonies, and
Yeah.
you've been voted by the Team USA, all your peers, to be one of the 8 athletes to bring it in." do you want to bring it in? And yeah, without any hesitation, I said yes, like absolutely. And probably wasn't the best thing for my legs, because I'm standing up. It's a 6-hour ordeal for athletes for the opening ceremonies, but I knew there was some reason and some purpose for holding that flag.
Yeah.
And so, I'm sorry. So I said yes, and we tried to make the best plan to get me in there and kind of out of there without being on my feet too long and being in the cold. But that experience was the most emotional, spiritual experience of my life.
Yeah.
I still remember I can still feel like even now, like, 20 some years later, like being on that stage and what it felt like and hearing what I thought were voices of the spirits that were there that night. And we were holding that flag. And even the next day when I came back to skate, feeling like I had somebody there on the ice with me. And my first race, which I call my Olympic race, was the
Yeah.
5,000 meter. I got silver. I skated a 15-second personal. 15,
Wow.
half a lap.
15 seconds.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
Wow.
I felt like there was somebody out there. Everywhere I went, there was kind of this warm pocket of air. I just had this peace, about me. And again, I skated this incredible race. My daughter was just born like a few months before in December, and I'm living this incredible dream. I'm so thankful for what I have, and I think I saw the big picture in my life. What things were, what was important, and then with that silver medal in my pocket, and the birth of my daughter, and the love that I had for everybody around me, and just recognizing what this was happening, I went out 10 days later and then I attacked the 1500 meter and set a world record in that and won.
Yeah.
So
Oh, I'd forgotten that you were one of those flag bearers. I remember that moment very vividly. I was not at the stadium. We were watching it on TV, but my wife's parents live just a couple miles from the stadium, and we could watch the fireworks out their window, but I remember the silence that
yeah,
came into the stadium when you all came in with that flag, and what a special experience that was for me. I can only imagine what it was for you to carry that flag into the stadium and just kind of the gravity of that moment. So
yeah,
thanks.
we didn't know what to feel. I mean, we met downstairs, there were 8 of us, and out of the 8 of us, 6 of us won medals,
Wow.
right?
Incredible.
And yeah, and I remember the Port Authority officer's name was Kirk Killinger. He was the one that kind of he protected the flag. He brought it there, as part of the crew there and the team. I
Yeah.
remember we were down there, and again we walked downstairs. John, he opened up the flag and pulled it out of the case and unfolded it, and we all just kind of organic or naturally gravitated towards a spot. And I remember us just kind of rubbing our fingers on the flag.
Yeah.
And it was if my soul was being touched.
Wow.
That's the feeling that went through my body, and as I looked around at the others, it was gotta believe it was something similar, and the whole time, this guy Kurt's going like, "We're proud of you, your family, America's proud of you, the world's proud of you, the victims, these family are proud," and we're just getting all kinda hyped up as we're rubbing this flag and trying to stay as calm as possible, and he was saying, "When we go out on the stage, anticipate a big roar, like, be strong," that kinda thing, so we didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
I remember the announcement of like, "Ladies and gentlemen, the World Trade Center flag," and we walked out, and like you said, the silence was deafening. It was just unbelievable. We could hear the wind and maybe like the flag, the string of the flagpole hitting the flag pole a little bit. And I
Yeah.
also remember for just a second noticing the Apache helicopter just
Yeah.
right above us, like protecting us. And it was such a moment. Yeah, just something you wouldn't expect at Kings, right?
Yeah.
Especially, yeah, the opening ceremony. So we were just there, and it was such a powerful moment. And for me, time stood still because I think
Yeah.
everybody in that stadium, everybody holding that flag, and I would guess everybody, the millions of people around the world watching that moment, I mean, all felt the same emotion.
Yeah.
And I think that's what was so powerful about it. That
Yeah.
for me, time stood still. And here I am, 23 years later, and it's hard for me to hold
Yeah.
my emotions because it was such a powerful moment.
Well, and it obviously it was a devastating moment in September. It almost shut the games down, right? Not only were you thinking about retiring or whatever, but there was talk that the games wouldn't go on because of possible terrorist attack. And then when you bring this flag in that's torn and tattered and a uniting symbol, right? For
Yeah.
not just Americans, but for the world. Man, that's That's a pretty solemn moment for sure.
Yeah, that flag it stood for so much tragedy and pain, right? But it
Yeah.
also, I think it was a symbol of the hope of a nation,
Yeah.
right? And the world was behind us, right? The world was backing us. There were so many nationalities that were affected in that attack.
Yeah.
I'm just grateful that, like the minds and the knowledge and the bravery of the committee with Mitt, all under Mitt Romney and his ability to find a way to get that flag because it was so inspirational and it
Yeah.
defined my games for sure. My Olympic moment was on the podium, so to speak, when I got my medal. But
Yeah.
man, my games and a lot of my life at that moment was defined by that moment at the opening ceremonies with that flag in my hand.
Yeah. How do you how do you take that how do you reflect on that legacy today? I mean, it's these games, 2002 was just it was more than about skating, right? As we've talked here, it's about representation of America, it's about perseverance, about American diversity, global stage. How do you reflect on that today?
Well, I think the I mean, even flashback then, I remember I used to go to New York for, and I hate to say New York, but I used to go to New York for inline skating races.
Okay.
And I
Yeah.
remember driving in to the city in a cab, or even if I was old enough to rent a car for all these marathons that were going on. And I remember by the time I left New York, I was so angry because people are cutting you off,
Yeah.
or flipping you off and they're yelling at you. And it was such a fast-paced, um, aggressive environment, right? That
Yeah.
it was hard to handle.
Yeah. Yeah.
I went back and I haven't gone back. I never went back to this site of the trade centers,
Mhm.
but I went back to New York at one point for some events. And I remember how polite people were, like
Yeah.
putting their blinkers on or letting like go ahead. And it was such a 180 from what I experienced before. And I remember during that time people appreciate each other, right? We
Yeah.
respected each other. You debated about things. You didn't just shoot someone because you didn't agree with what they stood for or
Right.
said. You understood. You took the time to understand where they were coming from and their perspective. And it might not be. We're all shaped in different ways, right? We all
Sure.
come from different backgrounds. We get to some place in a different path, but we have to respect. I think the experiences that have shaped us to be who we are to get there. But we're all individual, all different. We all can be together. And yeah, back then, and seeing how our country was affected, how the world was affected, it, we like people always said, I heard a saying like Americans are at their, our people are at their best when things are at their worst, and
Yeah.
things are definitely at their worst then. And we became better.
Yeah.
But to see what happens today and just the from everything from the way people drive on with their phones and they're not even paying attention to where they're going. They're so concerned about themselves
Yeah.
and being on a phone and not worried about the person next to them in a vehicle going 80 miles an hour. Or when I'm riding my bike, I'm very cautious, my bicycle or something, that I'm not going to get hit by
Yeah.
someone who's on their phone or standing in line at a grocery store and just the people cutting each other. It's just a different world now. And it's hard to see because I think the phone, which has connected us so much, the internet and all the social, I don't do social media. I have
Oh,
my phone to
yeah.
call people and
Yeah.
text and email. But to see this incredible device, this life-changing device, which is supposed to bring us together, which is kind of separate us because now we're on our phones instead of, I laugh when I drive by people and they're in the car next to each other and they're not talking to each other, they're just on their phones, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's that kind of environment now, and that's what our society is doing. And then, you saw crazy things before. Maybe you heard about crazy things before. Maybe you read them, but now you see them at your fingertips. So people in Chicago are seeing some things that people are doing in LA or somewhere. Just it's like, I hate to bring up like that show like Jackass. It's like let's do stupid things,
Yeah.
and hey, I'm gonna do it too. And then everybody's doing crazy dumb things.
Yeah.
And for me, I don't like I don't like trash TV or what is it like reality TV. Like
Yeah.
when Jersey Shore came on, I just like, okay, now the networks are promoting this,
I
and
know. Yeah.
and so now I see all this and I'm glad my daughter's at an age where she can be more aware of this. But I see kids now and I like to I love having them in the building here because they're away from that stuff. And
Yeah.
hopefully can try to steer them that way. And yes, be technology savvy, but look at the person next to you, talk to your parents, talk to your friends, engage with each other, be a good human. I mean,
Yeah.
considerate, be aware of your surroundings. I feel like we miss that. And there are some really good people that I've met in this state that really lift my heart as to what people are around the country, and and other people around the country I've met as well.
Yeah.
I just see these stories sometimes, and I'm just scratching my head, going like, well, "What are we missing? Like, where did we go wrong? Because it wasn't like this, and it seems like it's going that direction more and more." And
Yeah.
so that's why I like to answer your question. I love the Olympic movement because it is so much about community.
Yes. Agree.
And being on the podium when I won my medal, I remember seeing the faces of my community that helped me get there. That was my moment. I just closed my eyes while the national anthem was playing. I was crying, and I just saw these flashes of the faces of everybody got me get there, and that was my community, right? And
Yeah.
I see the communities here in each sport inside the Utah Olympic Oval. Kids are coming in for youth sport, youth development, and personal development. You got people on hockey team, adult hockey, adult figure skating, curling, track meets. I mean, for me, this is a beacon of sport and life, where kids can come in, adults can come in and have their own community. And I think that's why I love working here,
Yeah.
because this is a place that I think is very pure in that sense. And we're getting our coaches and our staff and parents to be part of this community that's on the same path, the same mindset, to just, embody that Olympic spirit and movement and respect and
Yeah.
teamwork and integrity, optimism, all the things, positive things you can think of that I've learned from being in Olympic sports that we're trying to pass on to kids, to hopefully that they step out of this building, go to their classrooms and neighborhoods, and they teach that to their friends. And we just keep trying to build this momentum,
Yeah.
because we can't go on like this as a country or a world.
I mean, it's those Olympic values, right? Respect, friendship, excellence, that
Perseverance, integrity, resilience. I mean,
perseverance.
all
Yeah.
these,
All of those.
yeah,
Yeah. Just
because life's hard. I mean, it's only getting harder. I
yeah.
wouldn't want to be a kid right now. It's tough,
Yeah.
right? It's tough, but I think we learned that. I mean, you learned that on your journey.
Yeah.
I think, sure, you giving service, and when you went on your mission, that helps, and instill
Yeah.
that giving, that connection with people. And I learned it in sports.
Yeah.
I learned from the people who for some reason or another saw that I had a dream. They couldn't see the dream. They saw that I had a dream, and they helped me on my path to my dream.
Yeah. So now you do the same thing with kids these days, right? You're
I
coaching
I try to, yeah,
kids. What are the
yeah.
age groups that you're coaching?
Everything from, well, right now that I'm filling in as a main coach of an elite programs, 18 to 32
Okay.
ish. But I have influence in club programs from 6 years up.
Uh,
6 years. I have
okay.
adult programs, master programs, curling programs. Adult league. I play in two adult hockey league teams, and so I get some camaraderie there with the guys that are my age and older and younger.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's great, but to see the kids here, um, and then one of the great stories right now is Casey Dawson, who worked with YSA, which is Youth Sports Alliance,
Right. Yep.
Park City. I volunteered my time with them for years, and we had this Get Out and Play program where they've financed kids to come from schools on buses to either mountain bike or ski or skate, or they have a ton of programs now. They've
Yeah, they
definitely
do.
expanded over the years. And so I'm in this Get Out and Play program, keep teaching speed skating, ice speed skating to kids. And Casey Dawson comes in his school group, and he has a connection with, whether it's me or the sport or something. He goes home and tells his dad and mom, "Hey, I want to skate, not skate ski anymore." And his dad's a freak of nature. He's super fit. His mom was always fit. So he comes from good genes, right? He comes
Yeah.
over. I coach him for a number of years between Park City and even Catherine Rainey Norman, who was one of his coaches up in Park
Yeah.
City. We shared programs and kind of a satellite program with kids growing up in the sport. And then, he makes our fast team, which I coach now. And then he makes the national team. And then, you see him at the last games where he dodges COVID, gets there, and he borrows someone else's skates, and
Yeah.
they win a medal. And then now he's part of a team that's setting world records.
Yeah.
And he just won the 5K 2 weekends ago in Calgary at a World Cup, set a track record. And this is a kid that used to like, come on, like, come follow me, or now let's go and went on bike rides and had little club camps and weekends, where we did training camps. And And this kid was just always such a good kid with great parents and
Yeah.
a great environment around him, who just always wanted to work. Like, he worked hard, and
Yeah.
he just did. He was part of the team and did his work for the team, and you just see him getting better every year. And now he's beat all my personal best. So he's my last guy. Yeah, he beat all my personal best.
I remember asking you about that in Paris when we were over there. You remember that? I
Yeah.
said, you'd set world records, and now none of those all those world records have been surpassed. And I remember asking you, what does that feel like? Do you remember your response?
Maybe records are meant to be broken. I don't know.
Well, it was something like that, but it was like, you basically said, like, if the records aren't broken, the sport isn't advancing.
Okay, yeah.
Right.
right,
And there's so much new technology now, and techniques and all this stuff. And it was a surprise to me to hear you say that, because me, selfishly, if I had a world record, I wouldn't want anybody to break it. Right. But it was surprising to me to have that perspective. It really opened my eyes to that Olympic mindset of excellence, right? Perseverance, integrity, respect, that you would help someone else like Casey Dawson break your record. You know what I mean? So that was impressive to me when we were chatting in Paris over there.
Well, these kids earn it. I mean,
Yeah.
he's earned the right to be an Olympian, and hopefully he wins some medals or just has a great race. I mean, that's all you want, is them to have the best opportunity, right? No,
Yeah.
nothing's guaranteed out there. I could
Right.
have been first or 21st. All I wanted and all I trained for all those years was just the opportunity to have that race, that moment that I could try to execute as best I could, and see where all the the cards lie. That's all we can
Yeah.
ask for. Yeah, I could have fallen, could have had a crossover problem. I could have been bumped, like bumped in '98 from the
Sure.
lift. I
Yeah.
remember coming here going, I just want to skate.
Yeah.
All I want to do is skate a race. And if you look at the video, if you can find it on YouTube somewhere, I was so happy on the ice. Like, I'm kind of jumping around before my races announced my name, because I was like, yes, I'm finally racing.
I'm
I'm
here.
racing. I'm at the
Yeah.
Olympics. You can't stop me. No one's gonna. I'm here. And
Yeah.
and to have it, the U.S. crowd, like USA, and just again, everything in that moment, in that time period, it's great. And now to see that, in the building that that we built, so to speak, back then, and we have the fastest ice on earth. We have every world record but one, I think, that's been set at this facility. And the kids are coming up in great conditions. They've got more. I mean, sports science. When we talk about technology,
Yeah.
sports science between '02 and now is just light years apart. I joke with the kids now that I'm training, saying back in my day, like, you had a hard day on Friday, and you'd come back on Saturday, and your coach would look in the eye and say, "What do you think? Are you okay? Can you go hard today?" And we would like look at ourselves and do a quick analysis and go, "Yeah, I think, let's do this. Let's go hard today." And now today,
Yeah.
I mean, we were toying over that line back then of overtraining and overreaching. And today it's like they wear these body monitors. And if you wake up with not enough REM sleep, or your heart rate's a little bit elevated, or something's not part of your baseline analysis,
Yeah.
alarm goes off on your coach's phone, alarm goes off on your trainer's phone. They bring you in before the practice and they adjust your program. You're going to do 4 sets instead of 5. Take your lap time down from like a 32 to a 34. Just stuff like that. We didn't see that. So they're able to be like right here just a little bit longer before they dig themselves in a hole.
Yeah.
So the progress is a little bit more monitored and a little more predictable, maybe. We just did, we take our heart rates in the morning. We write down our emotional thoughts, our physical thoughts, how much rest we had, that kind of stuff. But right now, it's just all done in real time on their computer programs and their software.
Yeah.
And then the blades themselves. I grew up on roller skates.
Yeah.
And I went to inline skates. And I went to hardtail or fixed blades.
Yeah. Fixed blades.
And
Yeah.
I went to clap skates. The kids that are racing now all grew up on clap skates.
Yeah.
So they know that the limits, and they're pushing the limits of those skates.
Yeah.
The materials are better, stronger. The springs have a better angle of retraction. I mean, the skin suits are changed a little bit, not so much, but the sports science, I think, was one of the biggest factors where now people are just getting better. And the evolution of the athlete because of sports science, they're just getting better and better and better. And you got guys like Jordan Stoltz, the American, who's just, he may be the first one since Eric Heiden to
that's right.
Multiple distances.
Yeah.
The guy's amazing to watch. He gets so much out of his skates.
Wow. What would you tell your younger self now?
Are you sure you want to do this? No, just kidding. You know, I didn't. I told a story a few weeks ago to one of my team because I tell a lot of stories. I'm Mr. Analogy. I mean,
I love it.
everything I talk about technique and I bring other sports people play, like throwing a baseball or golf, executing a golf swing and how it relates to every sport. You're stepping through a tennis swing, right? Instead of just flipping your wrist, like how momentum creates more power and stability and efficiency and all that stuff like that. So, but when I was a kid, I remember um, my dad wanted me to play football, like his sports, right? He missed the tryout date for football. And I was a small little kid.
Oh,
I'm small now.
yeah.
You know me. But I went a day late to a football practice for like a popcorn or football. When I stopped playing, baseball, he
Yeah.
wanted to get me into football. So we go a day late and I remember going to this tryout or this football practice because now they're playing. And my dad went up to a guy and said, "Hey, like, who's the coach?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm right here." And he said, "Well, see if my son can play." And he looked at me, like the guy looked at me. I remember this very vividly as a small little child. And he went, "No, he can't play. He's too small." And my dad's like, "Are you serious? Like, can you like jump in or something?" And then this coach goes, "Hey, like Michael, come on over here." And it's the biggest 12-year-old you ever seen with probably a beard, maybe,
Yeah. Yeah.
he comes over and he's like, "Yeah, coach." And he stands in front of me. And, I think I'm up to probably, the maturation, right? I mean, I'm a
Yeah.
small guy. And he goes, can you tackle this guy? And I remember saying, I think someone there actually told me about it because I was younger. I said, "How about I'll try. Like, let me try." And he goes, "No, you can't. Like, you're going to get hurt." And he basically said, "I can't play." So I remember leaving day late. It's my dad's fault, but he didn't get me on time, but
Yeah.
I
But you
left
did.
that place and I wasn't able to play. I remember
Yeah.
going like, "I can't believe I didn't even get a chance." And that's probably me just in a nutshell. My my work ethic, I think, is people always say like, "Oh, Derek, you were a freak," or "Derek, you did this," and all these whatever. I want to say legendary stories of what I used to do with this weight vest on and stuff. I go, no, like I think I had two things that helped me in my career. I had for my opinion, an incredible work ethic. I was willing to do more than anybody else. I don't know why. Maybe it's because of my size. I wanted to prove that I could like hang with you in a workout. But I
Yeah.
wanted to do more because I felt like I had to because I was smaller. And then, which drove me in a lot of different ways, right? And two, I think I have a pretty good sense of like a proprioceptive feel of where my body is or what my feet are doing. And I have this knack for trying to solve a problem. Whether it's like I look at something and go, "Okay, I can make it a little bit easier or make it a little more efficient." I'm just kind of one of the
Yeah.
problem solvers like that. Maybe it comes from I love math. Maybe that's it too or something. But that's what I think helped me be a student of the sport and a student of life and trying to be like a best skater, a best friend, a best father, best husband, best whatever I can do because I'm still trying to learn.
Yeah.
And when I was skating, I was always trying to learn. And now even as a coach, I'm trying to learn to be a better coach. Like, how can I make you better? Like, there's different coaching languages. There's like, you can describe getting contact with the ice, like leverage, pressure, grip. There's all these different words you can use. That's why I Mr. Analogy, because I'll be talking to someone, if it doesn't click, I'll think of something else. Think of something
Yeah.
else from my years of experience and how I learned. I enjoy that. I enjoy trying to find a solution because when you see somebody like me, when my coach Virgil Dooley used to look at me and go, "Where do you think he's good?" Like, "I don't know, because he's bigger." Like, no, like watch, what is he doing different when he skates than everybody else? Why is he winning so much? What is he
Mm.
doing? And I would like sit there and I'd watch like the extension of their foot or the direction of push or how their hips were. And if I had a question, yep, that's good. Like, what else is he doing? So he was, again, my Mr. Miyagi. He broke
Yeah.
everything down for me. And
Yeah.
that taught me, like, even in life, like, why is someone so popular? Why is someone so talented in this? Why are they great at multitasking? Why is someone a good speaker? And that kind of stuff. And so I'm always trying, like, why does everybody think that person's a great friend? Like, what are they doing? What are they using out of their body, right? What are
Yeah.
the things they're focused on? And that's kind of how I live my life now is like, what are they doing? Like, how can I make them better? How can they make me better? And how can we grow together?
Yeah.
Yeah. If I could only find a wife like that now. No, just kidding. Yeah.
So this is awesome. I have one last question, and I know you're busy, so we'll cut you loose. But obviously, the Olympics are coming back in 2034. How excited are you about that and being involved? Obviously, you work at the Olympic Oval now as a coach and a trainer. But how excited are you about the opportunity for the Olympics to come back to Utah?
Well, I'm excited. on two fronts. One, like I remember in Paris, I remember being in that room when it was announced, and I remember like I got emotional.
Yeah.
I was sitting next to Heather Keller, and I think she was like, "Are you okay?" And I was just like, "Yeah, okay." I remember thinking at that very moment when we heard it, and remember they showed the video footage from Washington Square of all the kids.
Yeah.
There were kids from the program here that were there.
Oh, cool.
Parents were sending me pictures and stuff like that, and I remember thinking, okay, these 10 and 12-year-olds that are right now that are skating or playing hockey or whatever, figure skating, speed skating, like what is going through their hearts and their minds right now, knowing that in 10 years they could be here at the
Either.
Olympics.
Yeah.
Like, and I started bawling. Like I remember what that felt like when I was 20 some years old, like whatever, 28 years old, going, Olympics are going to be in Utah, in the US, and I could possibly be there, you
Yeah.
know? So that to me, and all the Casey Dawsons, the next ones that are coming up, and the Mayas that are out there right now, and all the Marcuses and Maxes that I know, and the kids that are out there doing these great things that are devoting their time and their energy and all in this passion for the sport they have and this dream that will be developing over years. I think that's great
Yeah.
just to kind of be around. And the second piece is just the opportunity for, again, I mean, Utah was a very small, unknown state. I mean, no one wanted to come here to downtown. There was no culture, whatever. All those things that you saw, it was a very quiet place. And
Yeah.
you know how it is. Now, I mean, it changed the games changed the landscape. I remember riding one day, I went down Mountain View corridor to go to my house in Draper. And I remember going, where did all these homes come from?
Yeah.
On the west
Yeah.
side, right? And then now, just even in places you don't think you could build there's apartment complexes going
Yeah.
up, and the prison move, that's going to be something next, and that's
Yeah.
I live right by around the prison area, and the old prison area, and so I think for the city to welcome back, this city is so great. The people in the city are so great. Like I have that house. I still hear stories about the volunteers from
Yeah.
20 years ago.
People
Where,
still wear their jackets.
yeah, yeah. I don't know if that happens any other place. And,
Yeah.
and I was speaking somewhere recently, and a woman told me about they were here at the games in '02. That's still speaking around the country and telling kind of similar stories like this. And a woman said, we were lost. And we went back and forth, like across this, I guess, cross section or area a couple times. And they kept going to the same person, like, where is this at? And they're like trying to tell them, where is that? And they just couldn't find it. So the volunteer said, hold on a second. Like, I'm almost done. Went over, talked to their supervisor, said, can I get off a little early? They let them off maybe 10 minutes early. They took this couple, like literally like a person at Home Depot in like aisle 21, took them
Yeah.
over to the plumbing aisle and showed them exactly where to go. And that person said, like, we would have never made it. We were so thankful that person, the time they took to do that. And that to me stands out. It's very symbolic of people here in Utah. I tell a
Yeah.
funny story about when I first moved into a place here, and I had a box. I get out of U-Haul. I walked into this duplex I was renting on one side of duplex. I came out and this guy's pulling boxes out of my U-Haul, and I'm like, hey, what are you doing? Right? 'Cause I came from California.
Yeah.
And,
Sure.
and he's like, oh, and before he could even speak, I look and his wife's coming over with a lemonade tray. Other people are coming over from the other houses around. And I got moved in, John, I got moved into my house in like 30 minutes from
Wow.
all the
Yeah.
neighbors came over. And I go, like, at one point, I was like, am I getting pumped? Like, what's going on here? This is not happening. But that's Utah.
That is Utah.
It
Yeah.
is. And so I'm so happy that, the games are coming back to America, because I think that showcases and exposes the sports here, because you're not
Mhm.
waiting, you're not watching in the middle of the night at 3 a.m. at a
True.
different time zone across half the world. It's
Yeah.
in our continent, so people can see that. Kids will aspire from seeing that, the images, right? They'll try to aspire new things. So that's great because people can see it on TV and be exposed. Again, to our state, having people come back to our state and feel the love and the spirit that still lives here for the last 23 years. And actually before that, because before the games, the spirit was here.
Yeah.
Having that Olympic spirit here that I feel every day, that I can feel every day coming in this building and other venues that we have on the streets, seeing the people with their jackets on
Yeah.
from 23 years ago, proudly wearing them, right?
Yep.
I think it's just a great place to host a game. And as an Olympian, this is the best city to host a games because the proximity of all the events is very athlete centric. You're not
Yeah.
in two villages. You're not driving 2 hours to the mountain. So you're having to get there 6 hours before your race. No, you're
Right.
driving up to the venue, in a normal routine. and you can perform at your best. And every athlete that I've met over the last 23 years in different sports in the winter realm loves Utah for that reason.
Really?
They had their best performances here because everything is so close.
And they could do kind of a normal routine
Yeah.
rather than,
Yeah.
okay, that's it. I
Yeah.
never thought about that,
Yeah.
but makes sense.
We have a great spot here. I mean,
Yeah.
the Olympics to live. I mean,
Yeah.
everything is spirits here, great people. I love it here, and I don't want to leave here. If I can work here the rest of my life and live here and die here, I would be happy.
Good.
Yeah, it would be a great place for me.
Well, we'll keep you. Growing up, you feel it's special because it's your home, right? Like, but I've come to appreciate it much more in kind of the last few years, especially with the Olympics and coming back and just seeing the respect, I guess, that people have for Utah and the opportunity to grow and live here and experience life here. So that's cool. So Derek, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for your time, for joining us today. I know for our audience, Derek and I have tried to get this on the calendar for like a year and a half. And
isn't that crazy?
It's
I'm so sorry. It's just like
it's my fault. You know,
glad we finally connected and made this happen.
Me too. So you're not just a gold medalist, you're a trailblazer, a mentor, a friend, and a living example of what the Olympic spirit looks like.
Well, thank you. You have had great impact on my life, just seeing what you do around this day and the people that you associate with, and the positive impact that you have in your community and the people that I've been around. I mean, you're one of the reasons why I love Utah. You are a piece of this state and a piece of the spirit here. So
yeah, thank you. So thank you so much for joining us. For our listeners, don't forget to subscribe to Inside the Rings wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us a review and help more fans find these untold stories. Until next time, keep chasing excellence.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Inside the Rings. We encourage you to rate and share the podcast. And if there is any topic you would like us to cover, leave us a comment. See you next time.